All right. Well, are you ready for some numbers?
I like numbers.
Okay.
Hit me.
So, all time against the Nationals. We'll start with Bryce Harper. Since 2019, when joining the Phillies, of course, Bryce Harper is hitting a .309 with 20 doubles, 17 home runs, and a .984 OPS in 75 games against the Nationals, according to Baseball Reference. His career OPS is a .911. So he's does a pretty good job.
911. Not for me.
Pretty good job. Okay.
That was a meme joke, Renee.
No.
You don't know that meme? That's a shame. The old man, and he's like, call 911, and then he pulls a gun on the guy, and he's like, but not for me.
Oh, no.
You don't know that meme?
One.
All right.
Wow.
My
Not
brain's
as cool
a lot
as
of
you.
dumb memes
I guess I'm
going
not
on.
as cool as you are, JB. And then since 2022, when Kyle joined the Phillies, he's hitting a .289 with 17 home runs in 37 games against the Nationals. That's an average of .46 home runs per game against the Nationals. The highest average of home runs per game ever is a tie between Mark McGwire and Aaron Judge at .31 with a minimum of 500 games played. That was according to StatMuse. So Schwarber
Love StatMuse.
is pretty good against the Nationals as well as Harper just getting home runs.
When you think about the Nationals and the Phillies are 48-19 since that tweet. And by the way, I tweeted them annually to remind. I mean,
I did too.
Yeah. It's
For
just
sure.
like,
You
hey,
have
did you
to.
guys remember this
make sure
tweet?
you go, remind the Nationals.
That the Nationals core was once Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, Juan Soto, Bryce Harper. I mean, Anthony Rendon was good there. Before he became
insane.
California Rendon. Like, to think that was their core.
That team that
is
won the World
wild.
Series that year, they have one player left. Well, one position player left from that group. And it might be the worst player of the entire nine.
Who is
Victor
it?
Robles is the only player
Wow.
left from that group. And
It's
he hit
wild.
9. He's a good defensive center fielder.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong, but he hit 9th on that team. He's not a very productive hitter. And, obviously Zimmerman retires, Harper moves on, Rendon moves on. There was, factors that caused
Sure.
the kind of crumbling of the foundation. But that he's the only one left from
That's
the starting nine.
unbelievable.
That group-
Thank you, Nationals.
That group, man. You just look back and you shake your head.
I know, it
There's like
sucks.
certain teams.
It kind of sucks for Bryce they won right after he left
I
because
know.
he's so good.
I feel for him.
Yeah, it kind of does suck. Like, if you're
I
him,
do.
that's gotta
Literally
hurt.
leave and they win. Like,
Yeah.
that hurts.
That hurts,
That
yeah.
hurts a little bit. But it is, their loss and our gain.
By the way, about Bryce, I wrote this down on the sheet because I saw it yesterday when they flashed it. Now, we've seen Bryce Harper be hot for short periods of time. Like, he had the one game with 3 home runs. He had another grand slam. Like, he's given you short bursts, but it hasn't been like a sustained greatness yet. Somebody flashed it yesterday on Twitter, and I forget who, but it was the top 10 RBI leaders around baseball. And they put it out because Alec Boehm is now first in baseball with 42, which is unbelievable. I think he's hitting like 331, all that. But 8th is Bryce Harper. And like, it doesn't even feel like we've gotten the extended greatness from him yet. And he's still top 10 in baseball. It's unbelievable.
It really is. I mean, for him to at this mark of the season have 10 home runs, his numbers, he's got a .273 average and an .890 OPS. And as you mentioned, 35 RBIs, which is tied for 8th. He's quietly right there. It's like he's
So when he does
pacing
get
himself. And I'm saying pacing in the sense of like a track meet. Like, you pace yourself
Sure.
behind the front. And you see it in car racing too. You're pacing yourself behind
Waiting
the
for the
lead car and you're
straightaway.
waiting. Yes. I feel like Bryce Harper right now is almost like, I don't think he's intentionally doing this, but it feels like everybody else is shining. And
But
Bryce is just lurking along,
I feel like
continuing
June,
to get RBIs.
you're going to get Bryce and Schwarber just like
Because it
playing
is such
out
a
of
long
this,
season, and you're
out
going
of
to
this
need,
world.
you're going to need guys that are stepping up at the right times. And I think Bryce right now, like, I think he's one that also just thrives more when needed.
Sure.
And right
He's very
now,
clutch.
he's not, he's getting you good hits here and there.
But to see he was 8th, and I was just like, wow. Like, it's a quiet 8th in baseball. You know what I mean? It's been like a couple great games. And then I feel like he's been atypical Bryce for like a majority.
Oh,
So
yeah.
when him and Schwarber, because Schwarber dipped after his hot start, in June, Schwarber's going to become the Hulk again. And if Bryce adds to that, then it allows Trey and Sosa and the guys that have stepped up in this absence to kind of, have some pressure off of them, and maybe Bohm hits his cold streak. This team seems to be swapping hot and cold streaks.
What's 35 times 2, Jamie?
That's
Quick
70.
math.
70.
Last season, Bryce had 72 RBIs. He's already around the halfway point of his RBIs last season, and it's mid-May.
Well, yeah, the injury he missed.
Well, yes, correct,
Yeah.
correct. Okay, obviously.
But he's on a pace 35. He's on a pace to be over 100 RBIs.
That's the most RBIs he's had, one of the most RBIs he's had in the last, 4 seasons.
Yeah.
So even with the injury.
Wait, last year?
Yes.
What?
Yes. Bryce had 72 I'm looking at it.
I know.
You don't believe me.
I
He had
wanna look
72
at it
RBIs
myself.
last season. He had 65 in 2022. He had 84 in 2021. Of course, 2020 was COVID. So he had 33 then. And that 72 is around kind of his average. He's an 80 to 90, RBI guy.
He had the 114 his first year here, which was the career
Right.
high.
2018, 2019, you got a total of 214 RBIs from Bryce in those 2 seasons. But his numbers hover around 85 to 95. And last year, even with the injury, he had 72 RBIs. So when you look at the last 2 seasons, and he didn't even have a full year last year, and how he's starting off this year.
He had 546 plate appearances, which is actually more than I would have guessed for last year. Because remember, he came back so freakishly early. So it's even more at bats.
Right.
But you're right. Like he's probably going to have his, if nothing happens here, he's going to have a shot at a career high in RBIs.
Yeah.
And most likely finish second in his career for RBIs. The 114 his first year here, and the year before he left DC, he had 100. Other than that, there's a 99, an 86, an 87. Those were Nationals numbers, an 84 here. So, yeah, he's on pace to go over 100, and hell yeah.
Right. I mean, even that's the thing. When you look at last year without having a full season, coming back from injury, and how we start off this season, it absolutely feels like he is just – it's become the norm that you don't even – look at it as Bryce is hot right now. He's rolling. No, he's not. He's actually just coasting along, but his numbers are still really good in that 35 RBI, 10 home run start to the season he's had. So great to see Bryce Harper just quietly, consistently doing his thing. And hopefully, as you mentioned, I think June, July, we're going to get him really.
And then Schwarber too. Just go look at Kyle Schwarber's splits by month. It's unbelievable. And he's been really good this year. Him not being in the field, I think is showing benefits on his knees. He's quicker. His bat speed you talked about last week is the best in baseball. And come June, whatever the hell it is with Kyle Schwarber, and he can't explain it, he goes on a tear. And he usually is up there leading Major League Baseball in home runs for a month. And I feel like Bryce is going to have that sustained run. And if his, not sustained is 8th in baseball in RBIs, you could be looking at a top 5 RBI producer this year.